Welcome to Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery, a conversation held at the intersection of substance abuse, mental health, and everyday living. Your hosts, Mark Regala and Justin Wolf, bring both professional expertise and personal understanding to the table. So welcome to the conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome back as we continue the discussion with Mark, Justin, and Eric Metcalf, Director of Peer Workforce Development at NAMI DuPage.
And so, like you said, NAMI DuPage, you come from Virginia, out on the beach, living on that boat, to out here in the Chicagoland,
So I'm back home, sweet home Chicago. And probably my number one motivation is that everybody kept saying you need to be around family, Eric. And when we moved to Virginia, we did that. That was a couples thing. That was our goal. We did that. We didn't have family there, but we would travel back and forth to see family. And so me coming back to Chicago was me coming home, so to speak, which I did not necessarily want to, but I listened to the advice of others that it would be best for me. I just didn't want to go back home in the manner of how I was living and how I was looking. Just a lot of embarrassment, shame, all of that. And so when I got back to Chicago, of course, I continued the same. As wherever you go, you take yourself. So, the geographical thing, that can maybe, you'll change the environment, maybe change the picture of stuff. But if you haven't done the inside work, it's just a matter of time before you, I'm going to wreck it. I'll say I'm going to wreck it. I don't care what, I can be on the moon and wreck that if I'm not well inside internally.
Right.
And so it was just a matter of time before I was up to my same thing, doing the same things in Chicago, which was self-destructing, which was a slow death, trying to take my life, just in a slow manner. Maybe this last drink will do it. Maybe this last hit will do it. I'm going to hit this and maybe I'll be at peace and I won't be here. So was I necessarily proactive in pursuing death to take my life? No, but I was very comfortable with if it happened, so be it. And I didn't mind putting myself in a lot of dangerous situations where I would laugh, guns in my face, all type of crazy scenarios. And I would literally, and they people in the streets were like, this guy's really nuts. Because I would laugh. And I'll tell you what the weapon is you got in your hand, and I'll sit down and cross my leg and like, all right, man, what you got for me? I need some work. And I'm buying drugs and selling drugs and just living a very dangerous lifestyle. And that ended with me finally through, there you go, the superpower. A brother found me, and because he said he just felt something, and he never really could explain it. But he said, I'm going to take today, I don't have to work, and I'm going to go find this brother. And he found me at a hotel in Gurnee, off the highway, off the expressway. I was staying in hotels up and down the highway, all throughout Gurnee, all the way into Chicago and maybe Wisconsin too. I did that for almost a year. And he found me. And when he found me, I was actually coming back from the liquor store. And he was in the parking lot. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And I'm looking around, and he's like, I came for you. And we sat on the trunk of his car. And you know what he did? He shared his story. He shared his story of recovery. And why? When it wasn't like it was the first time I've heard somebody's recovery story. But for whatever reason, on that particular day, at that particular time, it penetrated my heart. He cared. I could tell. You took your daytime to come and do this? Because you said nobody's heard from me. You don't know if I'm dead or alive, and you didn't want to read about me in the paper. That's what he told me. And he shared his story. And that brother shared his superpower. And he told me, okay, so I got the day off. So what we going to do now? Where you got to go? I go to the hospital, don't I? Yeah, let's go get some help, Eric. And then there was that commitment to go get help.
Gotcha. So this gentleman appears in your life. I mean, and just like, hey, shines that light back on you that you would shine in so many other people's worlds. Yeah. And they're like, hey, this is your path, my friend.
Yeah.
Let's help you kind of get back on this. What was that hospital journey like for you?
Well, I ended up going to Hines VA because I didn't want to be in the suburbs. I wanted to get back to the city. I heard they had a good program, especially for veterans who may be living with PTSD, which I was. And so, but I had never really addressed it. And so I went to Hines, and Hines was very, very supportive. They had a great polytrauma program because after going through MRIs and a lot of testing, I mean, a lot of prolonged exposure therapeutic programs, polytrauma programs. It was revealed to me that I had a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. Yeah. And so with the TBI, that explained a lot. The headaches, the glitching, all of that was explained when I was given that diagnosis that I had suffered a traumatic brain injury. Just something that accident that happened overseas that I never went to the hospital for. And I just dealt with it on my own, mainly drinking. And so once I found that out, that really helped explain a lot of things. Got on medication, did my therapy, did my programs, and I decided to do something different. I'm not rushing back to work. And I took a compensated work therapy program that they were offering. And I did that for, I don't know, several months, almost maybe 8 months or so. And when I did the compensated work therapy, basically you do work around the VA and you're able to go to your therapeutic meetings, do your mindfulness, your yoga, whatever program you got going, you can do that in between you working at the hospital. So I was like, oh, this is a win-win. I can keep my program tight. I need all the help I can get because I have flatlined. And so with that program, there was a director there that heard about my background, and she had a flyer for a job opening at NAMI DuPage. And that was a moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Just how everything lines up to kind of bring you back here.
Yeah. What did I tell you? As much as I deviated from my purpose, it found me. And I remember, I'll never forget when I was in her office and doing my, good morning, hi, how's it going, this and that, and letting her know about my day and, what veterans I had met. And because I took the veterans in the ones that are in wheelchairs, I would wheel them to their appointments, medical appointments. And I would have them give me the most honorary, mean vet you can find. I want that guy. Because I got to make this job interesting for me. So my job was, I'm going to get in the lab on the way to get coffee. We may grab some breakfast on the way to the appointment because we're going to deviate a little bit because I'm going to wheel them around and get them in the lab. And that was what my day would look like. And I loved doing it. And she said, well, Eric, when are you going to get back on the field? And I was like, what? She's like, okay, you've been here for a while doing this. There's this great job at NAMI DuPage. I don't think I want to do that. I'm going back to make money. I'll never forget. That's what I told her. Because I said, well, that's hard work and I can appreciate that, but that's not for me because I've lost so much. I got to go make a ton of money to make up for all of the losses. And she's like, I remember she kept shrugging her shoulders. Are you sure? Are you sure? Just take a look at it. And I took the flyer with me. And before I got to out the door, I felt it in my heart. I was like, I got to do this. Oh boy, I'm going to go back to doing this work. And it was just like a lightness. And I interviewed, the only application I put in, I interviewed, got the position, and now I couldn't be more pleased with what life has been like working with NAMI DuPage.
Hey, Justin and Eric. Eric, thank you for sharing the story. I'm just sitting here listening because I've worked with Eric through my work through NAMI for what, probably about 3 years now, Eric? 2.5, 3 years? Yeah. Okay. And I've heard bits and pieces of his story, but I never heard all the details laid out as they were just laid out right now. And I got to tell you, like, literally, I have goosebumps right now because I don't have a military background, as you know, okay? But when I speak at the hospitals, I always talk about don't focus on differences, don't focus on background, focus on the similarities of what the mental health and what the addiction looks like, and then also look at the similarities of recovery and what they're doing to live a life of recovery. And I literally got goosebumps here because I never realized like how similar our stories actually, they're very different, but they're very similar at the same time. So, when you talked about experiencing the loss, of your wife, okay, I never lost a spouse to death. I went through my divorce. I lost my relationship with my kids. My entire life was uprooted. The way that you described your feelings and how you didn't care about paying bills and you were living life recklessly and drinking and doing whatever, that is exactly what I was doing. I just did not care.
You just
Okay.
right.
I just didn't care. I mean, it was a different type of loss. I respect that. But I mean, everybody deals with loss differently, you know? Um, right down to the story, and you know this, very early on in my recovery work, I ended up losing that one gentleman that I was meeting with by Zoom, during COVID
That.
to suicide.
I remember
Okay.
that.
And you were the gentleman that actually called me to let me know, hey, he's not going to meet with you tonight, Mark, because I just got a phone call from his widow. They found him.
That was me.
And what did I do? I went to the wake, and I mean, I was nervous as hell going there because I was processing everything that he had said the previous Monday and dissecting everything. And did I not catch something? Did I not pay attention to certain verbiage or what have you? And I was very nervous, going to that wake. And then I remember the widow like hugging me and crying and introducing me to the children and the grandchildren, all people that I knew through the Zoom meetings. I knew everything about them because I was meeting with them for like 6 months or 5 months or whatever it was prior to that happening. But I can totally relate to that story as well. Now, I'm also going to share a story about Eric as well. And that is, through my recovery work, through referrals and things of that nature, I've been referred to people that are dealing with PTSD from a military perspective. And I can speak about a lot of things. I can talk about drug, and I can talk about alcohol, and I can talk about getting sober. And I have a PTSD diagnosis as well due to childhood trauma, but I can't relate to the battlefield. And we had that one gentleman in Cicero, okay? Not going to mention his name for the respect of privacy, okay? But I mean, this gentleman was calling me up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, hiding under his kitchen table because airplanes were landing at Midway Airport and his PTSD was kicking in. He had a major addiction to opiates. I called up Eric. I said, Eric, I don't know what to do. It's something I can't speak of. He's got a military background. Eric asked for his name. Eric asked for his number. Eric picked him up, drove him to the VA to get help. And it was a process with him. Yeah. He had his legal issues. I don't even know if you know where he's at right now, but he's living in a tremendous life of recovery, and he's found God, and he's very spiritual. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. We keep in touch, and he's still completely sober. And you did that. You drove there, okay? Picked him up and drove him to the VA. You knew exactly what resources were available to him. That's the type of man that Eric is, and I want to commend him for that.
Thank you, Mark. I forgot all about that. But I remember now standing at the VA with him. Y'all like, no, we're doing this, brother. We're going to do this today. So
and he remembers that too, Eric, just so you know, because we talk every now and then.
Yeah. Thank you.
And even as you describe it, it's like kind of like the flow of it all. It just like kind of went in and it happened the way that it was intended to happen because the gentleman there, Eric, knew exactly what needed to occur there. Yeah. And that's when we're talking like purpose and meaning and finding like, hey, like outside of all my destruction that I caused out there, trying to just like, not really caring about how this impacts me. What's this do for my future? Do I wake up and see tomorrow? Right. It's this is why we're here. And this is why we're committed to the work that we do, especially when, hey, Mark, you taking phone calls in the morning at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Eric driving down saying, I got you, not even asking a question. It's like, I'm showing up because this is what I do.
Yeah.
But you want to, at least from my perspective, the reason why I'm like that, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Eric, is because when we were in our darkest hour, people were there for us.
Exactly. That's what I just shared. Yeah, that brother came to find me. He had to drive the distance. So when you call me and you say there's a brother in need, and you let me know, and I get all the logistics as far as, I'm on a mission now. I laser beam focus. Let's go do this. And by the time I meet the person, my energy is so high. This is non-negotiable. Not on my watch. We're not losing you. Come on, let's go. We're riding shotgun. I got you. Don't worry. I'm going to get you breakfast. Don't worry about that. Because my whole thing is to get them in the vehicle so I can get you to the hospital. That's what somebody did for me. and it literally saved my life. It literally saved my life. And he shared his story with me, and that got me. And then also when a person shares the story, but with the backdrop of I'm sharing this to show you're not alone. You're not alone. There are others, man, that have struggled, but you don't let this take you out of here. When there's so much good that we could do and help, and because now the cherry on top, I'm remarried. I got a whole new family because I had lost a family, because I lost not only Jan, my late wife, but her family, because when they see me, they cry because they think of Jan. So then I feel I can't go to Christmas. I can't go to Thanksgiving because everybody's crying because they're missing Jan. So I'm remarried. I have a new family. They've embraced me totally. And so what if I didn't make it off that boat? What if I had perished on that boat? All of this would have been missed. And I share this story to share people who may be in that really dark space, to let them know, look what's going on here. And then I'm cleaning up my credit. It takes time, but I'm cleaning up my finances. It takes time when we destroy things to build it back up. But I'm slowly getting there. And I'm in the right environment because I got peers like Mark. I got peers like Justin. I have my team, my NAMI DuPage team. And as we serve others, I'm being helped. So it's a win-win. It really is. It truly is. I heard something the other day. It was on a podcast, and the guy said we have to be careful with self-care, because self-care is the catchphrase now. Every self-care. He said you got to be careful with it, because self-care is great, and there's room for self-care, but care for others. That's where you get to the good stuff. Caring for others, being more selfless.
Right.
And so I thought it was phenomenal. I was like, he's right. So the combination of the two is when you can find that it doesn't matter about your financial means, it doesn't matter about what station you are in life, you found a purpose. And whatever area that could be, I'm serving others at a restaurant, but I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and I'm going to make your experience the best I can. That's what I'm doing right now, because I did a lot of jobs before coming on board and getting here. A lot of little jobs to fill in gaps, from the YMCA to a janitor. I was a janitor at the YMCA in Texas for a while, as I lived there in Waco, Texas for a little bit. I did commercial real estate out there. Just trying to find my purpose. And again, it found me. No matter how much I tried to deviate, and because I want money, and I thought that's kind of where I'm trying to align myself with work, but it ended up finding me, and it's priceless. The experience that I'm having just right now.
I mean, at least I catch myself doing this, and I'm sure you probably do too. When you look back at everything that happened and you look at where you're at right now, sometimes you just
it's surreal.
Sit back and just kind of laugh and be like, man, who the hell would have thought this?
I do all the time. I have had the privilege, and I'm humbled by it, of meeting governors, different city councilmen, even running for a position. Never thought I would do that. I ran for a position. Didn't get enough signatures, and I'm kind of glad, because it was a lot more work, but it was still a great experience. That I'm a community, into the community, and I'm learning more about the workings of a community and the government of that community, and how it's supposed to serve the people, and how we need to have the collaborations with the police department. So I'm heavily involved in that. Just so many unique, amazing experiences that I would not have had without my path of recovery. It's no way. It would not have happened, because number one, I wouldn't even been in the right state of mind to even be in these spaces that I am now. And so, I have a lot of pinch myself moments, a lot.
it's like I think it was about a month ago. I spoke at an opiate awareness event in Naperville, and I was with the guy who runs the DuPage County Health Department and also the DuPage County Sheriff. So they get up there, they do their presentation. I mean, the guy who runs the health department's in like a full blown suit, shirt and tie. I show up just like this, to tell my story.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, I get up, I tell my story, I sit down. There's going to be a question and answer session afterwards. They're going to probably want to talk to the sheriff or talk to the gentleman that runs the health department, right? It was like one question after another about me. I mean, I come to realize every family has a story out there, and every family has unanswered questions. And when they see somebody that's kind of pulled them out of the darkness, and now is kind of living that life, they're just on a quest for knowledge. And then afterwards, you get people coming up to you and they want to shake your hand and hug you and all this stuff. And it's like, man, it's like, it sometimes makes me feel uncomfortable because I know of all the destruction that I did.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm worthy of this.
Like saying, wait a minute, I'm not a good guy. I've done. I'm an okay guy, but I've done a lot of bad stuff.
That's exactly it. Exactly.
You're hugging me and you're crying, and I'm just. Well, wait a minute now. Wait, I don't want this to be misunderstood. I did a lot of bad things. So I'm
it's
an okay
true.
guy.
But I'll say it again. I mean, I've been in the insurance industry for over 30 years, and I've won a lot of industry awards, made a lot of money. Obviously lost a lot of money with some of that destructive behavior what we talked about. Yeah. But that being said, I can honestly say I don't feel like I don't feel like I got the respect of any of those professional accolades like I do now, living a life of recovery, being an addict in recovery, alcoholic in recovery, and doing what we're doing, living that life of service and trying to help others.
Yeah, I mean, Justin said it early on. You're a light where there's darkness. You lighten it up. And when you light up, when you're lit and other people are feeling that as you're sharing your stories, and that's why I do embrace and I give the hugs and everything. And I try to just say, Eric, right now, you are symbolic of giving her hope for a grandson who may be out there. He may be in a bad way. But when they hear you, Justin, they hear you, Mark, and they say, well, wow, they were able to kind of turn the page here. They got stability. They're lucid. Their eyes are clear. They're sober. They're career oriented. They're about helping people. Maybe my child can be okay. It gives them hope. And when I found, I know I've been talking about career and all of that as far as my purpose, but even on a personal level, we had a situation because I have a new family now with my granddaughter. And my granddaughter was having suicidal ideations. Boom, right up my alley. Here we go. So I said, well, we're going to have a granddaughter day. And I took her to the ice cream museum in Chicago and let her eat all the ice cream she wanted. And believe it or not, she was still hungry after all the ice cream. So, all right, we're going to go. Where you want to go eat? And I'm thinking of, let's go to nice restaurants. She's like, no, McDonald's. McDonald's? Okay, it's your day. And while we're in McDonald's, it comes to me, now is the time. Let's have this talk. Because this is the talk that I didn't get early on when I had those thoughts. Let's talk about it. So I use Alice in Wonderland. And I showed the video of her going down the rabbit hole. And I asked my granddaughter, because I need to make this in terms that she can understand, do you know what that's? Did you see how many times she said ouch and ouch and ouch as she hit the walls of the rabbit hole? And then when she hit the bottom, boom, she thought she was done. And then she hit another bottom. That's what a rabbit hole is. You know, we can do that in our minds, in our thinking. We can go down what's called a rabbit hole. Once we're down there, what do you do? And then now I got her talking. What do you do? Well, first see where you're at. Yep. Let's see where we're at. Let's assess the situation. Where am I at? How am I feeling? What are you, what's this scenery? What's around me? You assess the situation. Then what do? Got to find a way out. And now we're talking about recovery. And she's a little 9-year-old girl. And we're in McDonald's talking about recovery. And we're talking about how do you get out of that rabbit hole? Because, and she could look at me and say, my granddad gets it. That's what I mean by us sharing of ourselves and our story. That will help somebody else not feel like I am such I'm broke. Why am I thinking like this? Why am I having these suicidal thoughts? Why is this and that? By us pulling the blanket off of it and not acting like it's something that we can't talk about, but saying, let's talk about this hard stuff. Right. That right there has a big impact on others. And even on a personal level, it did with my granddaughter. And you know, I thank God that she's now just thriving, doing really well. But we do check in. Yeah. We do check-ins. I need you to check in with granddad. What's going on? Talk to me. So our purpose is grand, but it's also grand in the small moments that some may see that interaction with my granddaughter. Even though I'm not in front of a governor, I'm not speaking in front of the police department, I'm having lunch at McDonald's with my granddaughter, but we're talking about recovery at an early age. And that was also a moment that I knew I'm in my purpose.
Yeah. I mean, just the ability to kind of give voice to just like the whole human experience spectrum here. Like we all have these bad days, and those bad days, those aren't the things showing up on social media. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, look at me. I'm down here and this like in the rabbit hole and I can't get out. Right. But we all go there. And I think that's when you're talking about like the power of sharing the story and connecting and seeing it, that somebody else gets it.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It's kind of like, hey, I thought I was on this island by myself, but now I see you've been there before too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that this pain is part of the human experience. And you can be that image, that beacon that shows me, you know, hope that there is something out there. I can become and move forward and show up and be that person that I want to be. Because I feel like that's where I could just kind of speak, where for me, it was like, I'm never going to get back to this guy. I'm never going to be that guy again. And I would constantly like evaluate, measure, critique. And I don't know about you all, but I know when I would critique myself and judge and evaluate, it never made me feel better. Right. I'm not like, oh, good self pep talk. Here we go. No, I just kind of push you further into what was kind of feeding the pain. And so now it's isolating, disconnecting, and seeing that, you know, it makes sense that when we're hurting, we want to isolate and kind of close off to everything and anything, especially those that actually hold the key to kind of get us out of this cage that we put ourselves in. Mm-hmm. And so that's where, like, I think you've done an incredible job, like Mark, Eric, highlighting just that power of connecting with another person and seeing them as a person and sharing that it doesn't always have to be like this.
No.
You're a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. And sometimes we doubt and we diminish and we minimize just the amount of strength and power that we have as individuals to persevere during those times that really test and push us. Mm. And I mean, Eric, your story that you've really hit on today captures all of that and speaks to just how important this is, especially when you start naming off all those jobs that you did without really going into detail. Be like, look what I took. I did this. Da-da-da. Yeah. It's just like, it just highlights just how much this matters to you to get to the position where you are today.
Yes. It makes everything not be in vain. It makes both the good, the bad, the ugly. It brings it all together, and I'm able to present that and say, hey, this is me. This is who I am. This is what I've lived through. But look, I'm standing. I'm here. Every now and then, I may get a little wobbly, but I'm on my feet. And I have others to lean back on, my battle buddies, my accountability partners, my therapists, all of these other silos of support that I have out there when things get a little dicey, because I do still experience from time to time, not as much, but the nightmares, the sleepless nights. But now, instead of me running from it, I face it. I face it and say, okay, this is what it is. I don't keep it a secret. I share it. I may even share it to my boss at work. Slept 2 hours last night, but I'm on my way. I'll be there. I may be a little loopy because it was a 2-hour night. But that right there, me just doing that, it takes the sting and the power away from it, from the illness factor. Instead, it's more of, it is what it is, but I'm here and I'm going to show up again tomorrow. And it's not, instead of me just saying, woe is me, I can't sleep, I'm having nightmares, my head is throbbing. All I do now is when I'm getting in the car, I'll say, well, where's my headache today? I said, about a 7? Because I always got to do a scale, 1 to 10. Where am I at today in the pain threshold? It's at a 7. Okay, we can handle that. Where's my headache today? 5.5. Oh, this is a great day. It's only a 5.5. Because every day I have a headache, basically. So, but when you learn to look at it in that manner, instead of looking at it as woe is me, but looking at the good. So think about it. I'm living with a 5.5 or 6 headache, and I'm saying that's good. It's all about my perspective, because it could be worse. It could be a 9.5 where I got to say, all right, you got to take me to the hospital. But it's not. So if I don't take the wins and find those wins, and even if you got to seek and really seek them out, but to find the win, find the silver lining in everything. And that's what me losing someone like my wife, my late wife, that's what that did for me. It made me really be intensely present for moments with my grandchildren, for moments with my new wife, with my new daughter. So the whole new family dynamic has helped me to not sweat the small stuff. Because I think a lot of times we get bent out of shape by a lot of things that are very trivial. Don't sweat it. I walk away. I don't even want it, because there's no guarantees of even living. We're here today, and we're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. And so I do my best not to sweat the small things anymore. Things that really used to get me all like nuts. I just don't allow it to bother me as much.
Awesome. And I mean, I think that captures it beautifully there. And as we're kind of wrapping up here tonight, and again, Eric, thank you so much for being willing to kind of go into such great detail about just what you had to persevere through, and how you continued to kind of like push and drive to kind of really, like you said, that purpose kept coming back to you, and you kept opening your arms and welcoming it back in, man.
Yeah.
Is there anything, Eric or Mark, that you'd like to kind of put out there before we wrap and conclude today's episode?
I mean, just from my perspective, I just want to thank Eric again for all the work that he's doing in the community. I mean, I've personally witnessed it. I've seen him connect, with people during groups. His knowledge is incredible. He's helped a tremendous amount of people, and he's definitely an asset to the organization, and like I said, to the community, for everybody that he's helped.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. And
you're welcome.
I guess what I would like to say is, even if you zig and zag, which I did a lot of zigging and zagging, stay the course. Don't give up hope. Don't ever think that you're just alone. And there's no one else out there that really understands, or that even want to understand you. There are others out there. We live with these conditions, but we have learned a way to function and to be productive members of society and not destroy ourselves. So I would just ask that you keep an open mind, because there's help that comes in a lot of different ways, and oftentimes it's not in the way that we think it should be. And that's what I found in my recovery. I found help in a lot. I really had to open my mind to things that I was not open to. Yoga, mindfulness, different therapeutic programs. And I would just strongly suggest that if you are out there and you're struggling, and maybe you're getting a month clean and then you're relapsing, then a month clean and you're relapsing, you just, in and out, keep at it. Don't give up. Don't stop going to your meetings or whatever things that you're doing for support. Stay at it. There's that saying, I know you know this, Mark, don't leave before the miracle happens.
Correct.
Don't leave before the miracle happens. I'm living a miracle right now. Yep. I'm living a miracle. And I just thank God I'm here for it.
Thank you, gentlemen. And again, our next episode, we're going to be talking a lot on what really came up today in our discussion too, was that connection between the mind and the body. And so we are happy you're joining us on these discussions. These podcasts will air on the 15th and the 30th of each month. So be sure to tune in. Mark and I are open to any comments and suggestions you might have, suggestions for topics you'd like to see us discuss and dive into. So feel free to go ahead and email us at namidupage.org/podcast, and you can connect with us there.
Nice.
So
thanks for having me. I like this. This is a great show you got here. Job well done. Thank you.
Happy to have you, sir. Everybody, thank you, and until next time.
Thanks for joining us today on Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery. If you're on the journey to find guidance and insights, subscribe now wherever you find your podcasts. Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery is an educational resource, not a substitute for medical or therapeutic advice. The opinions expressed by the hosts and their guests are not necessarily those of NAMI DuPage. Go to namidupage.org/podcast for links to past episodes, show notes, and to submit a question or topic ideas for a future episode. Until next time, be well.